Yes, we get a lot of questions from customers on how we true our slot car tires. So we're going to make a little video here and show you just how we do it.
Okay, so we got our axles prepared. On the Carrera ones, they have little divots for their injection molds. We filled all those in with extra thick super glue, and then you file it down, and then to make it smooth all the way around, we put it on our tire truer. So we're ready to go. We have our original Gorilla Glue, which we use to glue them onto the rims. So you take the glue and apply it to the center rib. Don't go too much. That looks like a lot, but I'll wipe it off when I'm finished. So this is a situation where less is more. So like I said, I got a lot on there, so I'm just gonna wipe it off. Make sure the center rib has got plenty of glue on it, but not too much. And then you get the side part of the rim. Get this side. Normally you would use a paintbrush. I didn't have one handy, so I'm using this makeup applicator that I usually use for applying super glue to the front tires. Got a little excess there. Let's get that off. And there you have it. It's glued all the way around. Now the Gorilla Glue needs water to activate the glue to make it stick. So I'm going to set that up here in just 1 second. You can do that however you like. I usually just put a little bit of water in my air gun just because it makes it a little easier. Look at that. You can do it however you like, but then you just mist a little bit of water on there. Pick up your tire, stretch it on over, give it a little twist to get the glue down in all the nooks and crannies, if you have any. Then we'll take a piece of paper towel, and you wipe off any extra that is squirted out. This stuff is like spray insulation, so while it looks like you have it all wiped off now, in maybe 5 or 10 minutes there might be a little extra that comes out, so you want to make sure that you keep an eye on it at least for the first 10 to 15 minutes. And then you take the bushings and you just kind of roll it out. See if any other extra comes out in that little dealie, which it did. So you wipe them off. Go to the inside, make sure you wipe that off on all sides, all 4 sides. And it looks good. So that's what it should look like when you're done. The inside be easier to see on this side. And then you just sit, let that set for at least an hour. They say 2 hours. So we're going to let that set up and cure. We'll just leave it like this. And we'll let that set for the next hour or 2, and then we'll get to truing. See you in a minute. Alright, here's my tire truer. As you can see, it's a little dirty. Sorry about that. This is a Area 3 tire truer. As you can see, I have a little extra than the average Area 3. A friend of mine came up with a way to automate the tire truing process. I would have to say, of anything that I received slot car related, especially in the tools department, this is by far the best thing in my arsenal of tools. You know, with the regular Area 3, you have to sit there and go back and forth, and as you'll see in the video coming up, it all does everything for you. You just set the car or the axle on the truer, and it does all the truing for you. It's a very, very nice tool to have. Alright, before we get started, I just wanted to go over a couple other items here that you need to do the tire truing. We have our double-sided Scotch tape. We have a popsicle stick with 320 grit sandpaper taped to it. And then we have the three different types of sandpaper. We have a 320 grit, a 600 grit, and a 1200 grit. We use the 320 as the first cut to make sure that the tires are nice and round. For those of you who have used Carrera cars, which is what we're using on the Ferrari 430 or 458, the tires are pretty round, but they have a hard time getting both rims pressed on the axle. So one's always just a little bit out of whack. So we can fix most of that through the tire truing. So we use the 320 first to make our first rough cut. The 600 we use second, and that's to help polish from the 320, make it a little bit smoother surface. And then finally we'll use the 1200 grit, and that is a wet sand, so you want to make sure you have an eyedropper with plenty of water, and I'll show you how to do that towards the end. Okay, so we use the double-sided tape on the back of our sanding chip and stuck it to the plate. So, like I said, we're using a 320 grit. We take our belt, attach it to the tire truer. So here we go. Everything looks good. Make sure that you get a little bit of lubricant in your bushings here. You can tell that it's in there because the sound changes just a bit. And then you want to take your popsicle stick and you just want to roll it over the edges. One, to get a good radius on it. Two, it helps keep it from catching on the sandpaper as it comes over. So just kind of continue to do this. I'll do this one a little bit more. And then you just start lowering down your bracket here. And you want to make sure you keep your bushings in the center the best you can. The vibration sometimes moves them. So we're going to let that run for a few minutes, and then I'll be back to show you the perfect progress. Alright, so I've been away about 10 or 15 minutes letting this tire truer do its work, and I just wanted to show you what I mean about the rims not being quite straight. It's not a big deal. It's my favorite car. I'm not bashing on them or anything. I just want you to know what to expect when you put the tires on and start truing. So the one on the left is the one you're looking at. You can see this is the natural surface right out of the mold, and the dull surface is the trued portion so far. So that's the only part hitting the sandpaper as the wheel goes around. So as you can see, I got quite a bit more to go. So I'll get going on that, and then I will be back in just a few. Okay, as you can see, we're almost ready. Got another 5 minutes. Usually takes maybe a half an hour aside on this first cut, just because you got to take so much off. The next two steps go a lot quicker. Alright, let's see if we're ready now. Good, looking good. One thing that I always do when I'm truing is you just rest your finger on it, and you can just feel how smooth it is. When you put it on this one, it's got a major vibration on my fingertip. This one's nice and smooth. So I'm ready to go on to the next grit sandpaper. But before I do that, since I already have the 320 on here, I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. So once I'm done with that other side, we'll continue on. Alright everybody, we got both tires are now roughed in with the 320 grit. As you can see, maybe not, it's hard to tell on the camera, but it's kind of a rough finish, but it cuts through and gets you down to where the tires are completely round and super smooth when you run your finger over them. So now it's time to move on to the 600 grit sandpaper. I've already got it down on the truing plate, so we're going to get started on that. So on this cut, all you want to do is just see enough of the sandpaper hitting the tire, and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to screw this down until you just see the line go across the tire. There you go. So you can see it barely on the video. You can kind of see the shade on the tire change as the sandpaper hits it. So you want to let that go probably 10-15 minutes or until the line is gone. Just a little bit more there. And that'll put in or make it a little bit more polished and smooth. So we're going to let that run for a few minutes and then I'll be back. Alright folks, here you see the 600 grit has been finished. Both tires are super smooth and it's time for the wet sand process. So here what you want to do is make sure the sandpaper and the tire, especially the tire, never goes dry. So we're going to start out by just putting a little droplet of water on here, and we'll turn the tire truer on, and you want to let it wet sand again just like the 600. You want to see just enough of the sandpaper changing the color of the tire as it wipes across. And you'll do this also 10-15 minutes, and then you flip it over and do the other wheel. So let's give it a go. Takes just a minute to get it figured out just how far down you're going to go. That looks about right. So every couple swipes, at least in the beginning, you're going to need to add water. Eventually your pad gets pretty well soaked and you don't have to do it as often, but again, you just want to make sure here that the tire does not go dry. And we'll do this to both sides and be right back. Alright, there you have it. Each side ran for approximately 10 minutes and they are finished. All I have to do now is clean up the axle, put it in the car, and it's time to race. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section below the video. You can visit us on Facebook under Cincyslots, or you can visit our webpage, Cincyslots.com. If you have any other slot car needs we can help you with,